Welcome back to the Star Wars News Net's Timeline Show. My name is Tyler, joined as always by Master Luke himself. Not Skywalker, but the second best Master Luke, which would be Luke Sheehan. Personally, Luke, I think you're the number one, but I think until we get to that point where I can confidently say that for all Star Wars fans, I have to put you number two. But I'm telling you right now, my number one goal in 2026 is to make Luke Sheehan a more recognizable master Jedi than Luke Skywalker. So we'll see how that goes this year for me.
Yeah, aim for the stars and maybe you'll land on the moon. So hey, we'll see how that one goes.
So what better way to kick off the timeline show than some wisdom from Luke himself? So we are in episode 39 here of the Star Wars Timeline Show, going through all of the material in the Star Wars timeline. Today we'll be in Young Jedi Adventures episodes 5 and 6. The names of the 4 parts to the 2 episodes are The Terror of Tanu, The Prince of Masks, The Battle for the Band, and Uprooted, which is definitely my least favorite. But we'll talk about it. So let's get it going, Luke, unless you have any other words of wisdom you would like to share with us before we get started.
No, I couldn't possibly delay us any further from getting into the best episode of Star Wars we've seen yet. Episode 5 of season 2. Let's go.
And just remember to hit that like and subscribe button before we get started. Check us out on Apple and Spotify at Star Wars Newsnet, at Star Wars Newsnet, wherever you're on social media. Check us out Thursdays for the Star Wars Newsnet live show. And always check out the early week podcast. Here we go. Episode 5 was, part 1 was the Terror of Tanu. And here, Nash learns to appreciate being an unsung hero, only to finish the episode as the hero in the spotlight. So Nash overcomes a lot of obstacles here. She was a little bit, frustrated by the Jedi always kind of getting the shine, the spotlight, even though she's kind of the one that takes him around and helps him out, but no one ever is calling her a hero or, saying, oh, look what Nash did. But she rescues and she gets back, I believe it's called the staff of Kalia Kublop. Is that what it's called, I believe? Yes?
Yes. Yeah, that's her staff.
Yes. The staff of Kalia Kublop, one of the founders of Kublop Springs. She saves it from Captain Black Bolt's ship. And Captain Black Bolt himself. What an incredible episode of courage. And I'm not gonna lie, Luke, Captain Black Bolt, pretty cool.
Well, what's really cool about this is for us watching this and covering this right now, we're also getting to experience Skeleton Crew coming out as we're watching this. So it's kind of a cool callback to like SM33. This feels like a similar
SM33 vibes.
This episode has a similar vibe as some episodes of Skeleton Crew. So I kind of appreciate how this is lining up for us in our release schedule. So
could Captain Black Bolt be Captain Rednod, which could be the supervisor of At-Atin?
Well, it's confirmed in my book.
Big brain theory. You put on the big brain tinfoil hat there. Well, Luke, let's get to the notes, shall we? So, note number 1, Marla, the junk trader that sent them on this little mission they were trying to find something for. I just wrote, she's always weirding me out. Are you a Marla supporter, Luke?
I am. I kind of like Marla. She's definitely weird. I'm not gonna disclaim that, but she is nice. She is very helpful for our Jedi friends, our Jedi younglings. She's always got some just crazy stuff going on in her junkyard that needs help, and it's low key. Like, I think you should just handle that. You have JG1 now, so like you should be fine. But
the junk giant.
Yeah.
So I wrote this as I was, I do live note taking as I watch, and I wrote, whenever I heard the name Captain Black Bolt, we haven't met him yet, but when they first said the name, I said, I don't know who that is, but I like it. I love a good pirate, but he couldn't navigate asteroids. He just piloted into the asteroid belt and crashed because they saw his ship there. And I'm like thinking to myself, how did this man, or I guess not a man, because we find out he's a droid later. But at the time, I was like, how did this man not navigate the asteroids if he's the most fearsome pirate in the sector once upon a time?
Well, the odds of navigating that would be 3,720 to 1, if in
It's
case you
fair.
didn't know.
It's
So
fair.
the
I
odds
guess
weren't with
Nash.
him.
So is Nash a better pilot than Han Solo? Because Han, I think he had a little trouble with some of the asteroids from time to time. Nash, she seems to always navigate these asteroids with ease.
And for that reason, you're going to hear me say right now that Nash is a better pilot than Han Solo.
The hot takes never stop. I will say, was this the creepiest, kind of most darker, panic driven tone episode we've had in Young Jedi Adventures? I mean, I feel like if I watched this as a little kid, it might have freaked me out a little bit with the way Captain Black Bolt was operating on the ship, the way that there was a lot of creaking noises, dark flickering lights. It was a little eerie, darker tone than I was expecting for a Young Jedi Adventures episode.
I think this would have been one of those episodes as a child that I would have, clung to, or really at least remembered as like that one was scary, because there's even an episode of like, you name the shows you watched growing up, like
Mhm.
it's the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. There was an episode of that I like. I still remember to this day of like that one scared me as a kid. This might
Dude,
have been one of
you could have
those.
said a dozen things. The last thing I was expecting to do was the last thing I was expecting on this podcast was a Sweet Life of a Zach and Cody reference.
But
That's
this,
fantastic.
you were right though. This is a scary one where like it's shot in a way that like his silhouette is looming. There's darkness everywhere. It's supposed to be scary, so I think they kind of
Mhm.
hit on the fact like this is as scary as you can get about for a
So,
kids show.
back to Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. So great Star Wars point, but more importantly, so isn't there like a season or two where they're on a ship, like a boat? Or is that like an episode?
No,
Is that
that's
two different shows? Did they have the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody like in the hotel, and then they have Sweet Life of Zack and Cody boat,
I think
yacht,
like
cruise line?
so I am completely not claiming to know precisely what I'm talking about here, but
You
I think
dropped
that
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on the pod. You are now the podcast expert on the Sweet Life of
oh
Zack
boy.
and Cody.
Okay, so I think that the show ran for like the Sweet Life, and then it ended, and we picked back up with like Sweet Life on Deck. So yes, they had
Oh,
like a couple
right, it was
seasons.
Sweet Life on Deck.
They had a
That's what
couple
it was
seasons where
called.
it was like they were on a cruise ship. Um, and I think there was also like other shows that like had crossovers and combined, and were also like
It was on
revolving
Nickelodeon, right?
around. Yeah, yeah, it was a
So
big
it's a
Nickelodeon
Nickelodeon
kid.
cinematic universe.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
That's insane,
So,
really.
okay, so fantastic. So Black Bolt, he has a quote where he's basically talks about how he fought Jedi in the past and he hadn't fought him in a while, so he was excited. And then he extends a freaking vibro blade out of his arm, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, like iconic Star Wars villain unlocked for the younglings. Let's do this, Captain Black Bolt. I'm here for it. Granted, he gets yeeted across the galaxy at the end, but still, I was here for some Captain Black Bolt. I hope he
Yeah,
returns.
I I thought he was very cool. The way his arm kind of like rotates out, and there's like essentially a lightsaber. It's a vibro blade, pops out, and it's red. I love that it's red to clash
Yes.
against like the light side colors.
Like,
So
we know he is a
very
bad
fitting.
guy.
Yes. Also, just the hyperspace troubles for the High Republic era never end. This man is probably on Planet X. Who knows?
You imagine that's how Trials of the Jedi is going to end, or
Oh.
Into the Light. Captain Black Bolt is actually, in charge of the Nameless, and he is commandeering and the blight around the galaxy.
He's the one spreading it, really. I think this was so clever that they purposely
He
did
will
this.
kill Marky and Rowe. Prediction time. So Nash got a hype up session from the trio. What would you have said to hype her up, Luke, as she was struggling with some self-confidence throughout this episode?
um,
And I'll
as
tell you
she's
if it would work.
struggling, you're gonna tell me. I'm gonna say that like we've got a full 25 episodes ish that she's been in, so they are not new friends. We've got experiences to pull from. Okay, she's piloted her ship around really well. She has
Mhm.
even piloted like a seafaring ship. They were in that race.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
I'm like, listen, you are really good at what you do. You're probably the most driven, one of the most driven people here. Okay.
Heck yeah.
You're going to find us a way out of this.
Yes, you
I
will.
believe in you.
Me too.
So let's get to work. You go that way, I'll follow.
I'm all in. I'm all in. She saved it again. Of course she will. Fantastic. So RJ does some little droid improvising with several different hops and spins. Nash ends up, escaping after trying to go for the staff one more time. She ends up escaping so she doesn't get, caught on Captain Black Bolt's ship. They kind of damage his hyperdrive, send him off into the great unknown. But there was a great line here where Black Bolt was like, "Don't you Jedi ever give up?" And we get Kai, "Jedi never give up." And I'm like, dun, 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 yeah, something like that. But then I was
He's
still mad because I thought
Mhm.
she could have gotten the staff, and then I was like, oh, okay, never mind. RJ got it. It's okay.
Exactly. So RJ does end up saving the staff. Is it it's been a minute since I've watched this. Was it just the staff or was it like the box that
This
was
is just
in?
the staff, I think.
Just the staff. I think that's also perfect because
Hmm.
they got to see an old pirate ship. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. The experience of that, but also you actually got the staff of Kalia Kublap, who inspired
I
the
mean,
Kubops, which is one of
the
my favorite.
Kubops.
I just,
It's
I
one of
know
my
it doesn't
favorite
have any
bands.
relevance here, but I just think that's so creative. I love that they named their band that.
Oh, I mean, this
Anyways,
is this is innovative. So part two, the Prince of Masks here in episode 5. We have the return of Prince Cyrus, who is yet still juggling the, identity of Tabor and being Prince Cyrus. And here we kind of see them intertwined more so than ever before, which was really exciting to see as oh my gosh, I wrote them down. What are they called? What are they called? Oh, the Comet Runners. Yes, the Comet Runners
oh,
have made their way back. The evil pirate Comet Runners have made their way, and they're trying to steal the fathers from the village of Prince Cyrus's people. But Prince Cyrus, the Jedi, they're going to stop them. But ultimately, their speeder gets destroyed or damaged, and the trio go on. And Prince Cyrus says, Tabor is needed for this. He like puts on the helmet, he suits up, and then Tabor helps everyone escape. And Kai's like, "Oh my gosh, Tabor helped us out!" And just an interesting episode. Had a lot of fun with this. It was nice to see our guys, Prince Cyrus slash Tabor, back with P.E. Oh my gosh, with P3 and Pord, or is it
yes,
E3? E3 and Pord.
yes. It might be EB3.
EB3,
I
stupid droid.
it's kind of hard to keep up with, but I like this one. I think the metaphorical cracks in the armor are running deep and they are long. Because like it's been so long that I don't want to say so long, but there's been so many times that like Tabor has helped out the Jedi now, where at least
Mhm.
he's like surrendered and been like, you know what, we'll at least call a truce. We'll at least call a truce. I'm actually gonna help you guys out.
Right.
I think that at this point, and I haven't watched further than episode 6 that we're covering today.
Ooh.
I would say that at this point they're so close to figuring out that like Tabor is someone else, maybe, or that he's
Well,
like,
get me started on this nonsense where Prince Cyrus literally does this crazy move when he's sparring with Kai
oh,
before
that's
when they're
right.
training and like knocks Kai's lightsaber out. And then Kai watches, just I don't know, a few hours later, watches Tabor do this on one of the main Comet Runner villains, and he goes, I feel
Huh.
like I've seen that before. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, Kai, put the pieces together, son. Let's do some logical, analytical reasoning here.
It's not a big puzzle. There's not a lot of pieces.
This is why the Jedi should have never been in charge of investigations because they can do this. They can't do this. If someone else had been in charge of figuring out, where Jango Fett came from, the Clone Wars would have never happened. Obi-Wan failed miserably.
But this feels like major disrespect to Emmerich Kaftor. Okay. He's
You're
the
gonna
one
have to
good
remind me who Imri Kaftor is.
the shadows. No, it's the 5-issue comic run from DJO.
Oh, that's okay.
Him
Okay.
and his girlfriend. Anyways, he's a Jedi investigator, but Kai, he's got to be putting the pieces together because it's the same move. I did, I really like the update to his armor. It looks,
Mm,
a bit different colored, so I like it. It's an upgrade.
mm. I did write fathers in all caps, TLJ lovers rise up. And I stood up while I typed it because I was rising up. I was one of the risers.
I do love to
He
see
thanks
them.
Prince Cyrus thanked his droid. Baby steps, politeness. We're learning how to not be an a-hole all the time. That's good. And at the end of the episode, he says, I don't steal from people who are hurting. Not anymore. And that was critical character development, Luke.
Yeah,
Critical.
even Tabor is realizing that, he's got character development, and he's expressing that like explicitly. So I think I really like that for the show. I really like kids to see that like
Right.
you're coming along with the journey. Like it's not a mystery that he's like, is he turning? Yes, he is. Like, come along with us. He is turning. Go on this journey.
Can we also talk about the best part of the episode was the Kyla and Liz struggling with their restraints, trying to get the locks and pick them off, and then Nubs just kind of just goes, like, why didn't you do that whole time? But he just rips them off.
Why
Fantastic.
didn't you do that the whole time? And of course,
Just
we
love
make
it.
like 10 jokes an episode about how he's the strongest character in all of canon. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't he? So
He could
just
rip the
another
ears off a
notch.
Gundar.
Yeah.
So episode 6, part 1 was the battle for the bands. Here we learned that anyone can be a hero. Even our good friend Hap from Hap's Sap Tap. And he was the man. He rescues the band of Feb Rozo with the help of the Jedi, and then rescues the Jedi from Bolcha the Hutt. Luke, Bolcha the Hutt. Now, when you saw the sail barge for the Hutt, did a part of you think, are we about to get Jabba in Young Jedi Adventures? Or anything? Did you think that for
Yeah,
a second?
I was hoping so. I thought that would be
Looks
really
like
cool.
the same.
We've seen Jabba when I think we've already covered it in a comic. He does show up in the
Right.
High Republic era, so I was like,
Mhm.
maybe like not out of the realm of possibility. But
Simply got
also,
some guy named Bolcha.
I feel like every time I turn my shoulder, there's a new hut popping up to follow, whether it's
They're
Rota or
always the bad
Churro
guys.
or yes, or
Oh,
Bulcha.
churro.
Churro,
So
which
my
we
thing with
like
the
churro.
Hutts, this is big time Hutt history here. Have the Hutts always been gangsters? Like forever. Like who was the first Hutt gangster? We should do, instead of Dawn of the Jedi, Dawn of the Hutt.
Gosh,
That's what we need. James Mangold, not too late. Let's get the script
not
right
too
here.
late.
Not Dawn of the Jedi, Dawn of the Hutts. Was this Jabba's sail barge that he was loaning to Bolcha the Hutt? Was Bolcha the Hutt, did he steal from Jabba? Or does Jabba just kind of piss all over Bolcha the Hutt's, little parade that he's throwing and just
Mm,
takes over that barge for himself? There are so many Hutt questions that need to be answered after this episode.
Dawn of the Hutt's a Star Wars story. What does that do at the box office?
Probably 2 billion.
Okay.
2.21 billion. It beats Force Awakens in 2 weeks.
Perfect.
Already
That's
seated.
that's perfect.
That's all the trailer is just, it's just black and you just hear ooh, ooh, ooh. And then you have like Salacious B Crumbs, like little laugh that comes in. You're like, oh my gosh, like they're back.
Roll
Like, oh
it
my goodness.
again.
Roll it again. uh
We need it.
I'm trying to, I don't know any Huttese, like, so I couldn't really give any more Jabba lines other than I don't know. I'll move on. So the
But
Gangles are the ones who kidnapped Fed Barroso, which I thought was interesting. But they are just really forcing the Gangles onto the TV screen for the season. So they're definitely setting something up with them. I'm wondering if they're going to be the bad guys where they figure out that Prince Cyrus is actually Tabor. Like unmasks himself or something against the Gangles because they're like the big villains and we've seen them a ton. I'm wondering if that's the end game here.
You know, I hadn't tried to go out that far yet, but I'm kind of behind that. I think that'd be really interesting for the Gangles to know that Tabor is Prince Cyrus, and eventually all three of those kind of groups will be together, and the Gangles will be able
Yeah.
to reveal to the Jedi before Tabor's ready that there's the secret identity there, and I think they'll have to in real time struggle with accepting him or trying to figure out how
Mhm.
they feel about that. So I'm
Yes.
kind of with that. I would like that. That'd be interesting.
Okay. So Hap became a hero in this episode and showed courage that he didn't know he had, and just shows you that anyone can be a hero. So did you like Hap's arc in this one?
I really did. Um, I feel like the most that we see from Hap is that he is either running a cool shop and having fun, or he's like under duress and like things are not going well, or he's like the victim of something. So I'm all for like this kind of first episode we ever see of Hap being
Mhm,
a hero. He
mhm.
he has courage finally. So
Instead
I
of the
really
guy whose
enjoyed it.
shop just gets ransacked every other episode
Every other episode, he is
and
getting just
hides behind his bar.
yeah. I feel bad
I
for the
love
guy, really. So I'm glad he had this one. It's a win.
So freaking Tota Joe. That's what I wrote because I don't know what, but this guy just jumps off my screen every time. Like I just want to hang out with Tota Joe.
I think it'd be a good time. I think
Throw a rager, Tota
I
Joe.
think he would be. He's throwing a party all the time.
I
Total
thought
Joe.
Wes's outfits resembled Lando's from Return of the Jedi a little bit, so I thought that was a pretty cool callback. And I have one last little treat for you.
What do we have?
So Hap sings a little tune at the beginning of this episode as he's getting ready. And so I'm gonna just do a little reenactment for you, and I want you to tell me like how good
Oh,
you think Hap could hire me as a replacement, just in case he's ever gone, but he still needs someone to sing the opening song here, and it's setting up the sap tab. What can I say? It's gonna be a beautiful day.
if
You think
Hap
that's
ever
good
goes
enough?
down, we know who else can run this shop.
Next up, next man up, Febroso. Sign me up for the band.
That's
I'm
stiff
in.
competition for the Kubops.
The
It's crazy we got to
Kubops.
mention him twice now.
So the last part was uprooted, and this one was your classic Nubs plant episode where there is a Borrelia flower that's super rare, and they wanted to go see it bloom, but it was missing from the spot where it was supposed to be. And they find this creepy little gardening lady named Prune Prue Prue Canty, and she has this giant greenhouse and never leaves it and cares for these plants, but she doesn't know she's basically killing this one flower, the only Borrelia flower on the entire planet. And they do this little conversation. There was this big, happy moment, and they got her to get the flower back. She came with them to watch it bloom, and we met Lynn this episode, youngling Lynn, which was very nice. Knowing Nub's gardening plant friends.
Yes, I kind of like how there's kind of paired off where Liz has what is it, RE, who kind of like they're the animal guys, the animal
Yes.
people. He's a droid, but and then we have Nubs, who now has Lynn. So
Mhm.
they got their best friends that are like in their niche, their
Right.
specialized kind of
Kai has the best
subjects.
buddy though. He gets Bell for his
Bell
like a couple times this season.
can't
He
beat
gets to hang
that.
out with Bell, so he kind of trumps everybody. I feel like.
Yes, absolutely. And along with Bell, we get Ember, our favorite
Hmm.
Charhound. So you know, I gotta say, this is a little bit of a tangent. I've mentioned it a couple times before,
By all
but
means.
this episode for sure reminded me of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. There is a character called Madame Raz who lives in the forest, deep in the enchanted forest, who has special potions and like it was it
I like
very
it.
much resembled this character that we saw in this
Madame Raz
episode.
sounds
So
terrible.
Madame Raz is actually fantastic and kind of
Well,
a
I
key to
hated
the whole
Prue
plot.
Canty, so I don't
So
like Madame
I was gonna
Raz right
say,
now.
kind of mirror of each other, kind of like two ships passing in the night, but similar vibes.
I'm
Crazy
telling
old
you
lady in the
right,
forest.
I'm telling you right now, I have nothing in common with Brucanti. I genuinely have nothing in common. I was struggling. I was trying to find a way to relate to this woman. I was struggling big time.
And that might be the point that like she's hard to you know relate to, but in the end they're able to talk her off the ledge. Like, you know what? If you really are for the betterment of all plant kind,
Right.
then you need to go along with our ideas. So
Well, Lynn basically looked up and said, "Oh my goodness, if I didn't get out of the temple today, that's me in 70 years."
7 it's a little bit quick,
70.
but
70. I said 70.
70 years, yes. Yeah,
70 years. You
I do
age
like
very
that.
poorly on Tanu.
And Tatooine both.
Yes, poor Obi-Wan. So this was my bad prediction from the episode. When I saw like the tracks that took the Borrelia flower away, I typed out Raxlow,
Yeah.
maybe up to no good. He's gonna sell the plant off to the highest bidder, and then it was probably as opposite of Raxlow as could possibly be.
Yeah,
So
that's
that did
pretty
not happen.
opposite. Man,
Oh
now
well.
that you say that, I kind of miss Raxlow.
I
Been a
know.
minute since we've
Where
seen him.
is he? Where is he? I hope he pops up before we get to the end of this little season
I hope so too.
or half season. I really hope so because
I
Young Jedi Adventures is better with Raxlow up to no good. He just is.
honestly, I feel like his lessons are so on the nose that I kind of like it. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna destroy this forest for a couple bucks. Well, clearly
That is
don't
wrong.
do that. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to fracture this entire ecosystem for a few credits. Well,
Yeah.
Raxlow, that is wrong. And this is why pans to starving people in the valley.
So thank you, Prue, for your contribution to the High Republic, to the forest. Great to have you, Prue
Great to
Canteen.
have you, Brew. Yes, of course. So that's it for this week's Timeline Show episode. We are so sorry we didn't have one for you last week, but we're back this week. So you're welcome. I know your timeline is now blessed. We'll see you all next time. Remember, everyone, for light and life, we are all the Republic.